Welcome to People, Process, then HR Tech, a series where we talk about how to bring people and process before the HR tech. Today, we're joined by Shannon McQuarrie. She's the Chief People Officer at Built Brands. I'm Sid from the product marketing team at Beekeeper. You're probably sick of me saying this, but Beekeeper is an employee app that's meant for the frontline workforce. HR teams use Beekeeper to reach, engage, and retain their workers in hospitality, construction, manufacturing, as we have Shannon today, retail, healthcare, and many other industries. Shannon, thanks so much for joining. Can you tell us
Yeah,
a little bit more about yourself and what you're up to
sure.
at Built?
Yeah, thank you. Super excited to be here. Anytime Beekeeper says, hey, we want to chat, I'm all for it just because it's been such a great tool for our workforce. I have been in HR for 25 years now and have taken an interesting road to HR. Started out doing staffing and then went from working in an office, interviewing and staffing employees to working at the headquarters, doing corporate training. And I trained employees to do the job that I was doing previously. From there, I jumped into like traditional HR manager type roles and then was an HR director for a consulting business for quite some time. And then fell into Built's lap and started out as the VP of HR and then was promoted a couple years ago to Chief People Officer. Instead of Chief HR officer, CHRO, I feel like the title HR is very stuffy, but people is a lot more inviting. And so I didn't choose my title, but I'm glad that our owner was on the same page with me to say, yeah, this is a people role. It's a little bit more than HR is kind of the stuffy back end, but the people is really what matters. So that's me. I have 3 kids, busy life, lots of activities, but I love having a career and I love working.
That's so cool. And you somehow make time for this. So we really
Yes. Oh, I love
appreciate
it. Yeah.
that. You give something to the busiest person in the room, right? And they'll get it done. Uh,
Hey, we'll make it happen.
that's such a cool background and like your way into HR. The chief people versus HR we'll definitely have to dig into in a bit.
Yeah.
But you mentioned you're busy, and I'm really curious what you're busy with at Built. There's been a lot of change. If you could walk us through some of that.
Yeah, for sure. So Built Bar is it's a company here in Utah. We've been around for about 6.5 years. We make the world's best tasting protein bar, and I will stand behind that through and through. It is just an amazing product. I always tell our owner, if I didn't work here, I would be still be a consumer, and I am still am a consumer. It's been very exciting the last, I would say maybe 6 months. It's blown up on TikTok. This is what I keep hearing from our marketing team is like, we have some of these younger marketing girls that have come in and just like, hey, we're going to attack TikTok shop and get ambassadors and people behind the brand. That's giving us a lot of reach. We are in Costco's nationwide. That's given us a really big lift as well as Walmart and Sam's Club, Walmart.com, Amazon.com. You can pretty much find us anywhere and everywhere, hopefully, but it's just continuing to grow. And I think with that growth comes different challenges. We need more people, we need more product, we need more support, we need more tech sometimes with certain departments. But how can we build this infrastructure to keep up with sales? We are now trying to keep up with them, which I think at the beginning when we were a startup, it was the complete opposite. We had this great product and trying to get it into stores and into people's mouths. That was the previous challenge. And now it's the flip side. Like we need more product to get to these retailers. So it's been a fun ride. I've been here 5.5 years, almost 6. And so to watch this change happen has just been, it's been really fulfilling, but it's been very challenging the last few months for sure.
Yeah. And it sounds like you have to be pretty agile, as you mentioned. You start with different business problems, and now you're at a new place where you're scaling and the demand is there, and it's how to
Yeah,
ramp up the supply. So, yeah, I
right.
would love to hear more about what happens on the supply side. What's your production line look like? What are the
Yeah,
shifts?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we manufacture our own products, which I think is like, at first I thought, oh, well, we could just get other people to make our products and then we can have more. But it just doesn't work that way with what our product is and how we make it. But also, we get to control the schedule. We get to control the manufacturing side of what are we planning? The demand planning is what we call it. And so being our own manufacturing facility, we brought Beekeeper on because we were needing to communicate with the entire company. And the majority of our employee workforce didn't sit behind a desk, doesn't have a computer, doesn't even have a built.com email. That's been a fantastic way for us to be able to communicate with everybody. For the last couple of years, we've been running 410s. So Monday through Thursday, day shift is 10 hours. And then we have a second shift that's 10 hours as well. And they would just run 20 hours a day, 4 days a week. We would have the option of running overtime on Fridays if we ever needed to. And that was great at the beginning. It was giving us what we needed. But as we have increased sales, we've had to be, like you said, agile and flip the script. We are now transitioning both of our production lines to 5/8. And so we finished transitioning the first one last week. This is their second week on 5/8. So we had an open forum with our people and said, hey, look, this is what's happening. And we did it one light at a time rather than just throw a grenade out in production and say, we're doing everything all at once. We are easing into it. And so we let people know, hey, this is what we're doing. If you'd like to switch, is 5/8 better for your home life or for your schedule? Maybe you have another job that's going to work better for, or vice versa. Hey, you can't work 5/8. Let's see if we can do some swapping. Let's try and make it work. We didn't want to lose any staff, which we didn't. Everybody's been super accommodating and they've been willing to adjust with us. And so that's just a testament to the people that we have here for sure, that they're willing to they're all in, they're team built. They're willing to do the things that we're asking them to do. And those that have been here a long time, like we used to do 5/8 and then we did 4 sets of 3/12s and then we went to 4/10s. Now we're back to 5/8. Like they know we've got to be a little bit flexible in terms of what the needs of the business are. And so we are in the process of transitioning the second line. And if there's people that can't do that, we're going to try and work with them and see if there's something that we can do to try and retain that. But definitely the needs of the business, unfortunately, they have to come first, right? In a lot of ways, my HR heart says, well, the people come first, which they do, and we're going to take care of them. But at the end of the day, we are a business. We have to make sure that we can meet those business needs as well.
And you hinted to it, but of course, everything that's happening on the workforce change front, that means a lot of change for you as an HR team. I'm curious, yeah, if you can give me an inside look into what's the team like and how do
Yeah.
you manage all these different changes that are happening?
Yeah, I have an amazing, incredible small team. We are a small team and we're a small team for a reason and a purpose. And I think this is what you and I will get into a little bit, but I have an incredible talented HR director who I've worked with previously when we both did staffing together 15 years ago. And when I posted for an HR director about 4 years ago, he sent me a text and was like, hey, I am your perfect person for this job. And I responded back, you sure are. Come on in. And it's been amazing. He's super organized. He's fully bilingual, so he can speak with our people in the back and they're endeared to him. And then I have an HR generalist. She actually started out working production on the lines 6 years ago and then moved to be the receptionist. When I came on, she was like my right-hand person, but she had never had any HR experience whatsoever. And so over the last 5 years, she's kind of had a crash course in HR. It's been a crash course in onboarding, crash course in I-9s, crash course in interviewing, what an audit looks like, how to staff a line. At the beginning, it was just her and I staffing along with a staffing agency. So it's the three of us, but we do a lot of outsourcing. And that is, in my opinion, that's the trick to succeeding. So there's a lot of I call it the back end HR. I actually really call it boring HR. But there's people that love it and great because I'm able to give them something to do. But it's payroll, it's compliance, it's benefits, it's reporting, the new hire reporting, the termination reporting, it's our workers' comp, it's unemployment, it's all of those things that I would have to hire two more professionals, maybe two and a half, to do what I can employ one company to do for me. And so I really consider them like my HR partner. It's a local company. And so they're able to come and do safety walkthroughs with us. I don't have to pay an additional contractor to come and do safety walkthroughs. They'll help us out with managing workers' comp claims. They manage all the payroll. They take care of all the W-2s. Like those are so many things that I don't have to worry about. Sending out stuff at the end of the year, ACA compliance. Those are just things that I think take up time. And if I hire people to do that, that means it's going to take up more of my time to manage another person. I think there's a mindset in the corporate world where it's like, if I have more people that report to me, like I manage a team of 7, I'm more important. And that feeds my ego a little bit. I think it's the complete opposite. If you can leverage resources to help, resources such as Beekeeper, like there are things out there that you can find that can allow you to alleviate what a person does. And not that I want to not have people have jobs, but if my time is better spent with my people, with strategizing with our executive team or strategizing with our production team to see how can we help assist them maneuver people better, that's where my time is better spent instead of researching benefit plans or talking to somebody about a paycheck, like all of those things I can then put off to our outsource. So we are looking for somebody to help with the staffing side. We use a temp agency. We consider them another partner as well. They've been phenomenal. We have over 200 temporary employees right now with them, and we're going to be adding about 30 more in the next 2 weeks. My HR director, he manages all of the hourly associates that are in the back. We call them team members. And I really focus on the office. I focus on marketing, sales, finance, those departments, making sure that they're staffed and taken care of. And so we split those duties. And with that, he has all of our people plus over 200 temps.
Very cool. Anytime I hear the receptionist to like HR journey, I just get the fuzzies because I think it's
I do
so
too.
awesome when you hear those types of stories. That's such a, yeah, it's a very diverse and lean team, it sounds like, based on what everything you're doing. You
And here's the
mentioned it's
best thing, that receptionist who's now my HR generalist, she just started a class last night to get her PHR. So she is like, I'm in, you guys. Like she's catching on quick. She loves it. She's phenomenal.
That's awesome. I was just thinking when you mentioned the temp agency, I'm just curious, like, how do you onboard those folks? I mean, like you mentioned, you have a very strong culture. How do you bring them in to team built and yeah, also just train them to do some of the more specialized work you have going on?
Yeah. So our agency, they're local, heavily involved in kind of everything we do, including safety as well. They're out here probably once a week. They know our plant inside and out. We've done lots of tours, we've done lots of hands on training. So when we place an order and we're looking for somebody, they know what to screen for, first of all, but then they do a full 1 hour training at their location before somebody's sent here. So they go through all of our GMPs, they talk about our policies, procedures, all of that. When they get here, we do another onboarding. So they watch our lockout tagout video before they even hit the floor. And then Stephanie, who is my HR generalist, she does a tour with them. So she introduces the whole HR department to them. She takes them into the back, and we have a buddy system. It sounds very elementary. I thought of this when my fifth grader came home and said, I got to be a buddy today to the new kid. And I was like, why are we not doing that? We have new people all the time. And I think of like first day on the job, not knowing what you're doing, having a sidekick, a buddy to be able to help you, especially that first day, that first week. We have buddies assigned. So as we onboard new people, we try and do it in groups of 2 or 3 at a time. And we have specific times that they come. So we're not just onboarding constantly all the time. It's like send us 2 people on Tuesday at 9:30, send us 2 people on Tuesday at 3:30. We'll get those people onboarded. So as soon as we go back into production, their buddy is there to meet them. They gown up with them, they take them out on the floor and they help them. But then I think even more than that, it's sit with us at lunch. Do you know what I mean? Again, take you back to like elementary school where you're the new kid eating your lunch by yourself. I don't know about you, but I moved a lot when I was little. And so I remember sitting at tables eating alone, thinking, I wish I had a friend. And so I think it's the same in the workplace. As we grow old, I think we forget that adults need friends too, especially in the workplace. And so that's our onboarding process. And then once they get there, they do on the job training. We have SOPs for all of our different machines, depending on where they're working. And they do that training. I have a training coordinator that helps document all the training. He sends it to me. We make sure that we record it. And then a lot of them get hired on. A lot of them move up in the company and become machine operators or even line leads, line supervisors.
Super
And then
cool.
the other thing, obviously, is Beekeeper. We buy seats, enough seats for all of our temps to be in Beekeeper. So as soon as they get there, they're actually onboarded via Beekeeper. Once we have a name and we have their information that the staffing agency sends over before their first day, they're already enrolled into Beekeeper. And so we talk about that when we do the lockout tagout video and explain this is how you're going to get a hold of your supervisor. This is your supervisor's name. This is how you find him in the app. This is how you communicate with him. Instead of giving out phone numbers, we want them to be all in with Built, whether they're temporary or full time. That doesn't matter to us. They're included in all of our Christmas gifts and our parties and things like that. They're part of Built when they come here until we can hire them on. And so they need to be a part of Beekeeper too. They need to understand communication. They need to know what's going on. They need to be able to communicate with their supervisor just like I can communicate with my coworkers. So that's obviously a huge help for us.
Yeah. I see like a theme developing where like you have a very lean team, lean processes, but they have to be really well thought out and like you have to plan for all of this in advance. So I'm curious, and you talked about your past experience as well. How did you arrive at this model of okay, I need a lean stack. You even mentioned to me what seems like the difference between leadership and management, where it's like, yeah, I can have 10 people in my org chart, or I can just do it the right way. I'm curious how you got here. Where's the evolution that, I guess, that brought you to this moment?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I first started at Built, we were a startup. They had been running production on a machine for 6 months the day I started. And I won't go into details, but there's a lot of non HR things going on. And they didn't have any policies, they didn't have any procedures, they didn't have a handbook. Like it was walking into this landmine. And I think there was 85 employees already when I started, plus a bunch of temps. The first thing I asked our owner, I said, tell me, I have in my mind what I think first steps are, but I want to know from you as the owner of this company, what do you want me to focus on first? He just said, love on my people. That phrase has never left me, especially the way that it was phrased. It's not our people, like love on my people. It was a very vested interest in the people that were in this facility. And so for me, I put them first in everything I do. I try and put myself in a position like if I was working in the production area as an hourly employee, which I do frequently. I need to know if I'm going to be staffing somebody or putting somebody near a mixing machine, I need to know myself, what does that job entail? How heavy is that lifting? How long are those shifts? All the way down to my non-slip shoes. What are the most comfortable type of shoes that I can help my employees get? What are some light duty roles that we can create and come up with back here in production when we have injuries and things like that? So being in that environment, taking a step and saying, it doesn't matter my title, it doesn't matter my job responsibilities, but if I'm supposed to love on these people, I need to know what they're doing each day. But more than that, I need to know what they need. And so we've created processes all the way down to our employee evaluations that are really focusing on how can we help you have a better work experience. I think with that focus, for me, trying to make myself as accessible as I can to a 400 plus employee workforce right now is going to be really difficult. But if I can slim down on some of the things that are like busy work, that my time is better spent doing ABC in the back, or my time is better spent doing this, I can then free up my time to actually be available for our people. The greatest compliment I ever get is when someone says, can I schedule some time with you? And I had one of those last week where it was a line supervisor, somebody that I know, I haven't spent a ton of time with them. And he just said, can I come meet with you in your office privately today? And I was like, absolutely. When he sat down, the first thing I said is, thank you for trusting me. Thank you for knowing that I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to try and help you the best I can. He could have gone to his supervisor. He could have gone to that supervisor's supervisor. He could have gone to the plant director. He could have gone to my HR director. But the comfort level that he felt being able to come to me, that to me is like the biggest thank you I could ever receive, more so than a thank you. It's you trust me. And that trust is only built by spending time with them. And if I can't do that, if I don't create that time to be out on the floor with them, even with my office people, if I don't create time to go and throw a Valentine's party on Friday, my role gets diminished. And that's why I love the title of people, because that's truly the heartbeat of this place is the people here. And if I can't make myself accessible, then I don't feel like I'm doing my job. And so finding other ways that allow me to be more accessible has been my MO for the most part. Easy processes, simple tools. I'm not into a ton of like high tech reward system or high tech software or performance review evaluations. Like the sales calls I get, I just giggle because I'm like, I just don't think that's not what's going to work best for Built. Adding another app, adding another tool that my people have to then go to figure out what's going on, that's not what's going to be best for them. Spending time with me, that's going to be, in my opinion, what's best for them. And I think it shows by our retention.
That was an amazing answer. We actually had another gentleman on the podcast who was talking about how trusting or equating HR to employee experience is a tricky concept, and I guess
Yeah.
people in your world, because HR historically has always been looked at as a compliance function. Now we're seeing, hey, really, there's this people aspect to it, employee experience part to it that's potentially a lot more important, like you mentioned, retention and other things.
Yeah.
A lot of folks that I talk to, they often say, well, how do I balance all this administrative work and make time for the strategic stuff? So you talked about it a little bit, but I am curious how else you're able to manage that and balance, right? The boots on the ground versus the strategic HR work that's more of like run of the business.
Oh, I work a lot. I don't know if that's the good answer. No, I think we've aligned the duties within my department very, very specifically. So there's nothing's being like done twice. We've put a lot of responsibility onto the supervisors when it comes to payroll. You're in charge of checking punches. You're in charge of approving those punches. You need to sign here to say that this is the hours worked. All I have to do is say, hey, payroll, go ahead and process. There's nothing complex about it because the responsibility is on the people that are at that level. This is what you're being paid for. Yes, you manage a group of people. Therefore, you need to know where they are and when they're clocking in and when they're leaving. It's a very, I think, simple task, but it does take time. And so we have automatic reminders we send out every Monday. Hey, go and check your punches from last week. Make sure everybody's in line. And then the week of payroll, they know by Monday at 5, you have to have everything updated because I'm submitting payroll. And if the mistake's on you, you're going to have to go tell your employee why they're short 8 or 10 or 12 hours. That's on you. That's not on HR. We don't have a lot of paper pushing. I think in the past, and even maybe now, HR is just perceived as the police, the policymakers, like, you're not doing this and you're not doing this and you need to be doing this. And I sit in the back where I'm not accessible and my door is always shut and it's really scary and nobody wants to come and talk to you. That is not HR at Built. We have the first offices right when you walk into the building. And it's situated away from every other office to make it more comfortable for people to be able to come in and talk to us. Because my sanitation guy that works graveyards, he's not going to want to walk all the way through finance and through marketing to back to my office where everybody can see him meeting with me. If he can come right in the front door and make one left turn or one right turn and be able to have that privacy, that confidentiality, that comfort level, like, to me, that is what has made things really work. I don't ever do work that my HR director or my HR generalist, like, everything is very, this is your role. These are your expectations. And I think that's what's helped make things work for us. Being super lean is I focus on the things that matter, making sure paychecks are accurate and making sure everybody gets paid on time. Like, that is extremely important to my people. Planning parties during work, not making people come to a party after work. Like, you already spend enough time here. That to me has just been a really important thing, is like, Christmas parties are during the day. They're during the day at work. You don't have to come at night. You don't have to come after hours. We do one annual harassment training every year and it's 15 minutes and it's short and sweet. Everybody needs to get back to work. We're not going to have a lot of these elaborate programs that a lot of larger corporate companies have. And I've worked for those large corporate companies and it's very time consuming. So let's get down to what matters and let's focus on those things that matter. And I think as you do that, a lot of the things that don't necessarily matter get pushed to the wayside. I don't really know how we're doing it. Strangely enough, it's just, it works. I think we've just figured out a way that, like, this is what works for Built. And every decision me and my team make, it's not going to be what's easiest for me. And it's not going to be what's easiest for my department. It's going to be, this is what's best for Built. And this is what's best for our people at Built. Everybody asked for a tuition reimbursement program. Everybody, like the office people. And I said, well, this is what the budget would be. But I want to give my people in the back PTO. They hadn't had PTO yet at this time. We were still kind of operating startup, didn't have a lot to work with. And I said, this amount is exactly what 5 days of PTO looks like to the people in the back versus tuition reimbursement for already educated people up front. What's going to be best for Built? I chose the PTO, which, again, I don't know. At the end of the day, that's not a Shannon decision. That's a what's best for Built decision. As long as I always have that as my focus and my team has that as the focus, I feel like we're equipped better to make better decisions as to how we operate day to day.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. First off, when you empower your employees and treat them as responsible adults, they can do more of that work and you can focus on the other stuff. So it sounds like that's a big mindset shift. And then having the flexibility for people to make decisions, but then also, like you said, always having that lens of what is best for Built, what is best for the company. Speaking of decision making, and this might
Yeah.
not be too relevant for you based on how it seems like things have unfolded with the relationship you have with your owner. But in general, you mentioned you've had some background in corporate. We like to ask, how can HR leaders get buy-in from executives on putting out these initiatives? So you just mentioned a great example where you talked about what's best for Built. That's how you got the PTO approved. But overall, like, how do you bring other leaders in, other stakeholders in when you're making big HR initiatives? And looking for buy-in?
Make them a part of the process. In the past, we had a disciplinary form. It was just like one form. And it was just like an overall general disciplinary that covered every area. And some of the managers in the back said, this just doesn't work for every situation. And I was like, awesome. Then tell me what does. Do we need to split it? Do we need to make it 3 forms? Do we need to make it 2 forms? My vote was for 2 because that's easier to manage. And I said, we do a coaching, we do a disciplinary. Help me write the policy. What do you think is fair? You work with these people every day. And the ones that, like, if they break a policy, is that a disciplinary or is that a coaching? I'm going to let you decide that. You're their manager. You work with them every day. You make the decision. I'm going to support it. It may not be the decision I would make, but that's not what matters. What matters is these are your people. Now, if it was me for my HR people, yeah, I could make that decision. But it's not up to me to do that for department heads. And that kind of flows into how HR is here. I'm very hands off with departments. You guys know how you run better than I do. I don't work in your department. So let's make things easier for your department. If working hybrid works for your department, let's put forth a plan. Let's put forth a policy. Let's present it to the owner and say, hey, this is what we're requesting. This is why we think it's going to work better. And if it doesn't, this is what we're going to go back to. And here's our parameters of how we're going to decide it. And everybody's going to sign that they're going to be responsible and on the calls that they need to and working the hours that they need to. Being in manufacturing, a lot of us are here in office all day, every day. Even during COVID, I spent 5 total days working from home. So we were here every day as an essential business making food. We could be. And so it's just not part of our nature. And so when somebody asks, let's look into it. I'm not against people bringing forth better ideas than what I have. And that includes the owner. I have a great relationship with him, and I feel very blessed and grateful to have this role and to have this opportunity. And so being trusted has probably been the greatest part about my job. Is like, when somebody trusts you, you feel that weight of, I have to do a really good job. I have to do what's best for the company. And so that's the base of my mindset, is I'm trusted. And that goes for a lot of the leaders within the company, is they're trusted. And so, you know what, if we think this is what's going to be best for the company, he really does trust us to know our craft. And that's something I learned pretty early on was, well, I hired you to do this. If you think that's what's best, get me a proposal. He loves to see like presentations and things like that. And so saying, here's the ups, here's the downs, here's the pros, here's the cons. Here's why I think it's really important. Here's why my team thinks this is important. And so a lot of times I will say, as a team, this is something that we've talked about, and this is something that we feel is going to be really beneficial as we grow the company. We're going to have to continue to add benefits. We're going to have to continue to add certain things that other companies have so we can compete. Asking for suggestions, asking for help, like, hey, you worked at XYZ company. We have a couple employees that worked at Chobani. And so, hey, what did you guys do there? Like, I want to pick your brain, because if there's something that you guys did that we could then adopt, let's do it. So I think just being open-minded, saying like, there's nothing that we can't do if it's, as long as it's legal, obviously. I don't have all the answers. And so I love having discussions with my leadership team and with our management team to say, like, I'm open to suggestions. Let's figure out ways we can make it work. So getting buy-in, I think it's just allowing them to be part of the process of what you're trying to do. Like, this is what I want to put in place. I'm going to do some research, but can I get your feedback on what you think is best?
It goes back to everything you were saying about just empowering the right people
Yeah.
to do the job, trusting them to do it. Well, this was awesome. I think we covered a lot about how to build a lean HR tech stack, a lean HR team, having that all through the lens of thinking employee first and what the experiences that they would want.
Yeah.
I don't work in HR.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious, anything that I missed?
No, I would just say, don't be scared to change the norm. I interviewed somebody last week, and Bill, HR is the last person you're going to talk to. And he thought it was very weird. Why am I talking to you last? I've talked to the department head. I've talked to people within the department. I've talked to the executive that's over that department. And now you. And I was like, well, you're not going to work in HR. I want the leaders. I want the person who's going to sit next to you every day and who's going to be your manager every day. I want them to pick who they want. And so I said, for me, I just want to get to know you and see if you're going to fit with Built, if you're going to fit with the culture, I'm not here to scrutinize or go into all of these complex interview questions. No, I'm going to sit and say, like, who's your favorite band? Let's talk about what's your favorite soda? Where do you like to eat? Me something that's like not on your resume. And the candidate was like, well, I'm Puerto Rican. I'm like, let's talk about my one trip to Puerto Rico. Abandon the norm, I think, is probably the best thing that I can, the phrase or the closing is like, don't be afraid to try something different because it may work. If it doesn't, try something else. I think that's just one of the greatest things I've learned at Built. And obviously, working for a private company where I have access to the direct owner is a huge benefit for me and for the company, that I do have that flexibility and that ability. But at the end of the day, if that doesn't exist, try it and then tell whoever you report to, like, look, if it doesn't work, I'll go back to what we've been doing, but let me just at least see if this could work. And you never know, it may.
That's so cool. Yeah, like when I think about it, it doesn't even make sense sometimes that we have a early screening. It should be later to make sure the
Yeah.
culture fits there. Wow. I would say that that's contrarian, but it actually just sounds smart. It's like thinking from first principles. So
To me,
that's an
it's like,
interesting one.
I kind of like everybody. And so if you have me pre-screen, I'm going to bring everyone in. Like, it's just not a good fit. So at the end of the day, you're going to get my feedback. And we always regroup afterwards and say, all right, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? The hiring process is just very not the norm here. And I love that. I think it's just, again, time saver. It's not going to take, I send the resumes out. All right, you guys interview who you think's going to work best. And then let me know when you want me to chime in. Like, set up the interview for me. I'll show up. We'll talk about music and sports and who knows what. And then I'll say, this is what I thought of the candidates. And it's not going to be necessarily so nitpicky, pros and cons, red flags. I'm going to say that person is going to work really well with A, B, and C, and they're going to not work well with this, this, and this. And I think, again, spending time getting to know my people has allowed me to do that.
That's awesome. Well, Shannon, this is a very educational, edutaining conversation. I think I learned a lot and it's
Oh,
given me a
good.
lot to think about. I'm really curious how it lands with other folks. How can people learn more about you and your work?
Just connect with me on LinkedIn as long as you don't want to sell me something. Like, the people that just want to connect so they can sell me their background check services or their payroll services, I'm just not interested. I want to connect with people that want to learn about HR. You can go to built.com. You can check out our product. It tastes like a chocolate covered protein marshmallow. You'll never taste anything like it. It's magic. I would just say LinkedIn is probably the best way. And I don't know, I just stay in my little hole in Utah and I don't get out much. But I will say I love being able to talk about why I love Built so much and why this is truly, this is like a dream job for me. And I never would have thought that would be the case. I've just been very lucky and I feel very, very grateful to be where I'm at.
And it shows. I will say I can attest to the Built Bar being delicious. So
Oh yeah, I
definitely
sent
go
you some.
try it out. Yeah. So I do recommend for everyone to
Okay.
try it out.
Yes, yes, yes.
Awesome. Well, Shannon, thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you.